Welcome. My name is Katie. I am an instructor at the Tutorium in Intensive English at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Today I'm going to be talking about intermediate speaking skills, and specifically I'll be talking about how to keep a conversation going. So first, let's think about, in your mind, go to your last conversation in English. What was that conversation like? How successful was it? How did it go? Was it long? Did it end very quickly? How did it feel? Did it feel easy, difficult? And how did you keep this conversation going? How did you extend this conversation? Maybe you asked questions to the person you were speaking to. Maybe you nodded your head to kind of show that you were listening to them, or said things like, or, oh, really? To express interest in what they were saying. Asking follow-up questions, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and that is a great way to keep our conversations going and to lengthen those conversations. Asking follow-up questions is something, of course, that we don't think about in our native language. It just comes very naturally. But when we are using our second or maybe third or fourth language, we have to be much more thoughtful about how to do this successfully. So how can we practice asking follow-up questions? Well, we can follow these steps. First, we have to be active listeners. We have to listen carefully to what the other person is saying to us. We have to remember something important that they tell us, and then we can respond with our own story or follow-up question. So remember, we're going to listen actively to what that person says. Think about something, a key point from something that they tell you. What is something that you can remember from what they told you? Remember that thing and use it to ask a question. So now let's look at some data. I have an example I'm going to show you of a conversation that I would say is less successful. I don't want to say it's completely unsuccessful because they do have a conversation. However, it doesn't really go anywhere. So we have Veet. He asks a question to Nora, why are you learning English? And Nora responds, I want to get a promotion at work, but I need to be more fluent in English in order to qualify for it. What about you? So this is our classic follow-up question. What about you? Veet says, I really just like learning languages, so I thought I'd try to get better at English. And Nora says, okay, cool. So we see they have an exchange, but other than what about you and sharing the exact same answer to the same question, this conversation doesn't really get a chance to expand. So now let's look at an example of a more successful conversation. So we have the same beginning, why are you learning English? And Nora responds in the same way, I want to get a promotion. But now Veet remembers something about Nora. Oh, cool. I know you work in business, but I don't think I really know what your job is. What kind of promotion is it? So this is a great follow-up question. Of course, Nora mentions that she wants a promotion, so it's natural that Veet would remember this piece of information and use it to ask a follow-up question. All right. We're going to look at this conversation in greater detail in a couple of slides. Okay, but we can just see visually how much more these two found to talk about by asking follow-up questions. So why is this conversation more successful? We can notice, we're going to look in a moment, we're going to notice what follow-up questions does Veet ask. We're going to look for the WH words that are used in those questions, right? We can ask yes/no questions. They're not bad. But if we ask WH questions, we are going to get more bigger, longer answers. People can't just answer yes or no. They have to expand on their thinking. And then we're going to notice also all of the polite expressions or responding words used by both speakers. So it's also those little words that we use to keep a conversation going, to make it, make the other person realize, hey, I'm interested in what you're saying. Tell me more. All right, so let's look more closely at the dialogue that we saw on the last slide. So if we look now, we can see all of the follow-up questions are highlighted in yellow. And we can see our WH questions are highlighted in blue. So Veet asks his first question, of course, why are you learning English? And then he asks Nora, what kind of promotion is it? And then he says, okay, that sounds really serious, because Nora says, well, you're right about my job involving business. I'm actually an internal auditor for my company. And Veet says, like when you get audited when you do your taxes wrong? And Nora, she laughs. Not exactly, and tells Veet a little bit about what she does at her company. And Veet, he says, okay, what's the promotion and why do you need English, right? So this is a natural question that we would ask Nora to let her know, hey, I'm curious, not only what is your promotion, but back to Veet's original question, why are you learning English? He wants her to kind of tell him more specifically, how is English going to help you with this? And then we can also go back and notice in green, we have all these little polite, kind of conversational lubricant. It kind of keeps it going. He's encouraging his partner. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. Nice. So he's letting Nora know, okay, I'm interested in what you're saying. Like, tell me more. All right. So let's look at some more of those kind of responding words and phrases that you can use, right? So we can say, oh, interesting. Really? Wow. That's really interesting. Sure, that makes sense. Like kind of confirming your understanding of what someone says, encouraging them to continue. It sounds like, now you can also kind of use this to clarify. It sounds like you're saying and then what you think they're saying and then right. So you're asking them to confirm what you see as correct. And then that must have been blank. That must have been really hard, or that must have been so exciting, whatever the context is. Finally, here are some ideas to get you started with follow-up questions. We have a list here of just kind of starters. Could you tell me more about blank? Can you help me understand X? What do you mean by? And then we have, could you tell me what, where, when, who, why, how? Or do you know what, where, when, why, who, how? Remember that these WH questions, they are our friends. Use them. They will get better responses from the person you are speaking with. Now also, you can say something that you found interesting and then ask for more information about that thing. I thought it was interesting. For example, Veet could have said, I thought it was interesting what you said about your job. Can you please explain, more about what an auditor does? Now, the best thing to remember, the most important thing to remember is try not to be nervous. You might feel nervous trying to do some of these things now by, asking follow-up questions. Try to just go out there and take risks. And if you make mistakes, that's okay. Mistakes help us learn. So just remember that. All right. And if you do some of these things and slowly, little by little, ask more follow-up questions, you will become more confident as a speaker. All right, good luck, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.